I'm Paul Charlton. I'm the current New South Wales president for the Formula Vee Association, and I drive a Mako Mark III, which was built by Frank Kleinig. And I used to watch Frank race at Oran Park in Amaroo when I was a teenager, so it's great to own one of his cars. And we actually own two of these, a red one and a black one. We're here at the round 5 of the New South Wales Motor Race Championships, and shortly we'll go out for race 1. We've had qualifying this morning, and this is a day-night meeting, so the whole race weekend is compressed. It's normally over 3 days, but with practice it's only 2, and we'll finish race 2 and 3 under lights here at Sydney Motorsport Park. So Formula Vee is an international category, and in Australia it will celebrate its 60th anniversary in 2025. So when we celebrated the 55th anniversary at Wakefield Park near Goulburn, and we had about 70 cars competing that weekend, and we hope to do so again in 2025, and we're working on a venue at the moment. We're hoping that Wakefield Park will be open again because it's a nice place to host an event like that. So Formula Vee is still raced actively in the US and New Zealand, also in the UK, Ireland, Scotland and Wales, and it's going through a bit of a renaissance here. It's a great category and always has been for young people to come out of karting and start racing in full-size cars, and it's a really good judge for their ability, because if they go straight from karting to Formula Ford, you never know who the competition is. Whereas in Formula Vee, there's some old campaigners that drive to a very, very high standard. So the young karter or young person entering the sport straight away gets a measure of how their ability is. You can start at 14, and we currently have a couple of 17-year-olds straight out of karting, and then the age group goes up from there. I'm 54, and I'm probably a typical age. There's people in their 70s still racing. So we welcome people from all ages, and we also have some ladies racing. And Evelyn, who's sitting behind me, we're encouraging her to come and do her first race. Well, I used to watch them when I was a teenager, and I didn't start doing any motorsport till later in life. And it's a great category because it's a friendly bunch of people, and it's affordable. So my children race go-karts, and then the one, my son Thomas, who was the most active, we moved him from go-karts to Formula Vee because it was a natural thing to do. And then after he did it for a few years, I decided I was going to have a go too, and it was something I've always wanted to do. So that was a lifelong dream to fulfill, to go racing. My family, my wife's very supportive. Steve Duckett, who comes and runs the team for us, and all the other competitors.
Great to hear from Paul Charlton there about Formula Vee New South Wales, how you can get involved as well. Of course, we're seeing more and more cars come out onto the track and race in earnest as we take a look at highlights from the first race of the 5th round of the Formula Vee New South Wales Championship. We're at Sydney Motorsport Park on the North or Druitt circuit this weekend as Pearce looks to the outside of Williams and cuts, and he's going to go all the way to the lead of this race here at turn 2. A great braking effort there from Matthew Pearce in the Jacer to get himself around the outside of the Sabre 02 of Darren Williams, as well as Jason Cutts through turns 1 and 2. So he's made the most of a good start as they come over the hill for the first time. And you'll see here, we cut left, and then we head right through 4 and 5 to be able to make the run down the back straight. And this is where there'll be another drafting opportunity in the V's to move to the inside. And you can see here Darren Williams wasting no time back to the front of the race before the end of lap 1. So he'll want to try to get his head down and try to drive away. In the Formula V's, it's a bit harder to do that, which we can of course see in other categories, as you need the draft to be able to stay with people, and the cars themselves, it's a lot harder to just pull away, as you can see Pearce now on board with Bennett as well, as they're going to go 3 wide into turn 1. And it looks like Cutts trying to make it work around the outside. It's a long way around at turn 1, but they've all given each other respectful amounts of room. And just look at the way they're darting left and right to try to figure out the best opportunity to be able to pass somebody locking up in the background there. Not exactly sure who that was, but they've locked both front wheels, and we'll have to see if they make it around the corner. And I have a feeling that that person may have been Stephen Butcher, and he's dropped down the field. Unfortunately, that will make it a lot harder, because once you lose the draft here in the Formula V, as you'll see throughout the race, it's very, very hard to get back on when you go on board again with Jeff Bennett as his leading battle continues to develop. Got a couple of cars sitting just off the leading four as they sweep their way through, and again in the lead is Matthew Pearce after that fantastic start. But it looks like now back to the inside we're going to see Jason Cutts, and he's going to try to take the lead away. And then William Pinn is just sitting in behind there as well. So Pinn with a bit of a watching brief. He'll try to get onto the back of this group and get in the draft. So we go on board with Bennett down through 4 and 5. You can see here how it's quite an uphill run through 4 and up over 5. And it gives you the opportunity to be able to make the move. Bennett's going to look to the outside, but they're going to go 3 wide into this final complex. Bennett on the outside. It becomes the inside for the second to last corner, but he pulls out there. Discretion probably the better choice in that one. And you can see Pim sitting in behind, looking for the opportunity to be able to make the pass, not able to quite do it as they come onto the back straight, and our leaders have slightly pulled away. So Formula V racing, all about momentum, all about the draft, and all about making sure that you keep the speed up, of course, in the car. So we make the run down to turn 2, and you can see how the leaders, they're not attacking each other through turn 2. You'd have to think that Jason Cutts is sort of sitting there now and going, well, if we can break away and I make this a 2-horse battle for the lead of the race, don't have to worry about all those cars behind. But no sooner than that, he's made a mockery of me there and gone to the inside, looks across, trying to check where Williams is. And the 4 behind as well of Bennett, Pearce, I think that's Ryan Stott and William Pim sitting in behind. As we see on board here, Matthew Pearce to the inside. He's doing a good job down at turn 2. Definitely has the comfort of the braking. Bennett let him go, switches back to the inside for corner exit, and this is where you'll see an example of how the drive off the corner affects things here. Pearce on the inside of 3. They give each other good amounts of room. Respectful racing from the pair of them as they run down the hill to 4 and 5. On board with Pearce again as they crest over the hill. Now Pearce needs to try to tuck in. No, he's just going to pull to the inside. Great driving from all of these competitors all the way through the field. It just goes to show, if you go and pick yourself up a Formula V, you'll be able to learn a ton about racecraft, heaps of information as well from your fellow competitors. As Pearce runs very wide at the final corner, look at the way that ripple strip affects the car on corner exit. And he's now had to tuck in behind Jeff Bennett as well. We'll see if he can get himself into the draft here or he'll drop away. Looks like we've got coming to the inside the 56 of Ryan Stott, though they're both going to go to the inside here on Bennett now into turn 1. So Pearce and Stott to the inside. Pearce making it work through the middle. And Bennett will have to try to outbrake around the outside as somebody stopped on the outside of the circuit there. I think that's Michael Gale in the Mako Mark II. Unfortunately for him, and the Gale Brothers racing car pulled up on the exit of turn 1. Doesn't look like he's made contact with the wall, but that's not the way that we want things to go for some of our 1200 competitors. Of course, there's 2 classes of Formula V, 1600 and 1200. So 2 different types of car and evolution. So you'll definitely find somebody to race as we now work our way through some of the 1200 competitors with the 1600 leading battle. Down into the final corner. We've got 4 cars all together yet again. And Pim trying around the outside. This time it becomes the inside. He takes a bit of curb, but he loses out there. And just see the way that that affected the momentum of the car. And it's not the place for that to happen as well. He's going to struggle onto the straight to be able to get back past as they now work their way past the number 3 of Don Collier in the Commando. And I think he's got behind him Bernie Cannon in the Cannon Accounting Kingsfisher. So they're 2 of the 1200 class cars having their own little battle as these guys work their way through them, and they're going to go 3 wide into turn 2. So 3 wide for 3rd place in the race. You can just see how over the course of this race, the 2 leaders, by not battling with each other quite as hard, have not slowed down their momentum quite as much, and therefore are being able to stay away from this group. These guys attacking the curbs, they're all trying to find every last millimetre of road space and every last kilometre an hour of momentum as Bennett now loses out to Pearce down the main straight. It's pretty much overtaking galore as around the outside goes Ryan Stott. Oh, he's had a big opposite lock moment in the middle of the corner. He had to get out of it, and you can see that handed Bennett back the opportunity on the position. But Stott's been able to make it work and still sits there into turn 2. So some great racing from the lot of them. Meanwhile, our leaders, here they are. And now it's time for Jason Cutts to have a look to the inside and takes the position away. So the Jacer goes to the front of the field in front of the Sabre. They're going to have to work to the inside of another one of our 1200 competitors here in the 90. That's Grant Castle. And he gives them plenty of room to the inside while maintaining his racing line as well to be able to make sure that he can still get the best out of his car. We'll take a look on board with Pierce, a quick replay down into turn 1. It looks like Bennett gets him on the run down into turn 1. So Bennett taking that position away right towards the end of the race. Back in front though, Cutts is going to lead onto the main straight. So it's all for Darren Williams to do here in the Sabre. The Wilcombe Group car sitting in second place in the race. You can see moving all the way to the inside. Cutts, he moves back to the outside, trying to break that toe. He knows that the opportunity is there for Williams to be able to get past. And here we come down to the main start line, and Williams has actually been able to pinch the lead by a fraction of a second there over the start line. You can see how strong the draft is as Bennett gets chased down as well for that position in the race. And we go further back and see the 3 and the 12 of Don Collier and Bernie Cannon continuing their battle for position, which we saw throughout the race as the guys made their way past them in the late race battle. And across the line they come as well. So Darren Williams leads home, Jason Cutts, Jeff Bennett, Matthew Pearce and Ryan Stott rounding out your top 5. Down in the pits, we caught up with Stephen Butcher to get his thoughts on racing in Formula V.
Hello, I'm Stephen Butcher. I drive the Formula V Stinger. I build the Stingers myself. I built this car in 2005 and have competed in it ever since, both as a 1600 and a 1200. I've run different times in both classes, and the last couple of years I've been just focusing on the 1200s. Doing pretty good so far this year in the class, winning the class. There's quite a couple of good cars here. There's Michael Gale in the Mako. There's Bernie Cannon and his Grant in the Cannon cars, and Greg Johnson, who's second in the championship, who's my closest competitor in his Alfa, which happened to be my old car from about 20 years ago, because I've been doing it for over 30 years. And I've done over 700 races in the class. And hopefully, if I go all right this year, this will be my 10th championship state title. So hopefully pretty good. The car's going good today. I had an issue in qualifying. I changed the throttle pedal, and I was catching the brake and the throttle at both times at one stage, so I had to take it a bit easier. So should do all right in the race and maybe even go a little bit faster than I qualified, which will be good, and just keep out of trouble and have an easy day. My background is I'm a fitter and machinist by trade, and I've always liked tinkering with cars, and the first car was obviously built by someone else, and after about 5 years I thought I'd have a crack copying one of those cars. And that was back in 1995, and then about 1998 I built my own. So I won 2 or 3 championships in the other car, and then every title since then I've won in my own car. Plus I've got a couple of lap records around here as well. A little bit in the construction of the chassis. This is a round tubular chassis, a circular chassis, whereas nowadays most of them are square, and even the last couple of cars, I've built 20 cars, and only the first 5 are using circular tube chassis, and since then I use square. There used to be an advantage to go circular, but not anymore. Square tube chassis, a little bit easier to build and just as quick. The only person I like to thank is me, because I do everything. I build the engines, I build the gearbox, I build the car, I do the body, I even built the trailer. So I built that about 20 years ago as well. But that's the Mark 7 version of that trailer. It's had a few bodies, a few floor pans, a few axles, crashed it a few times, just like the car. It's been crashed a few times, so I just keep working. I work twice as hard in the garage to go well at the track.
Great insights there from Stephen Butcher, of course, a long-time campaigner in Formula V, racing in a car that he built in the 1200cc category, just showing that you can go motor racing in Formula V any number of ways. There's plenty of opportunity to get out there and battle. While out in front, it looks like that we've got the man who won race 1 pulling out in front to be able to take comfortable lead down into turn 1. Of course, that's Darren Williams in the Wilcombe Group Sabre. But again, the 37 of Matthew Pearce with a big underbrakes catch up and he's been able to close the gap right down over the top of the hill for turn 2 for the first time. And now they get into line astern action across the top of the hill. Late afternoon here at Sydney Motorsport Park. The guys will be racing under lights for race number 3, which on the short course may well provide plenty of excitement. We go on board with Jeff Bennett. You can just see he's sitting in fourth place in the race at the moment, and everybody tightening up down through that back section. Now into the final 2 corners. We've got this field all over each other. William Pym at the back of it there. He's looking to get onto the back of the group yet again as Pierce looks to the outside. We saw him do this a couple of times in race 1. Well, more than a couple actually, and they're going too wide yet again through turns 1 and 2. How good's this for racing? Bennett closing in, and now we're going to go 4 wide down into turn 2 just for something different. Bennett looking around the outside, Pierce in the very middle, and right up against the apex is Darren Williams. And how good is this? 8 cars all together. It's pretty much throw a blanket over them in Formula V, which is exactly what you want to see. The 76 of Jason Cutts looks to the inside. He's going to pull the nose out, but that'll lose him a little bit of momentum, and you could see there the car behind him having to just check up a little bit, which has allowed those 2 behind to also pull in as well, and allow Morgan Fremantle in the Mad Dog Motorsport Jacer to sit onto the back of this group. So now it's up to those guys to use the draft, pull themselves onto the rest of the leading pack, and see if they can make some moves, especially down here into turn 2. It seems like turn 2 and the final complex are the 2 passing opportunities, which really makes the most sense considering there's a long draft opportunity right down into a hard braking zone in that location. So once you get yourself into position, you then have to be able to see if you can sort out a bit of a run on everybody else as Bennett loses out. Oh, you can see the way the car twitched through the mid-corner of 4 and 5 there, and I think that's allowed William Pym in the Team Stinger car to sit right on behind him, though now to the inside as well goes Ryan Stott, and Stott has a look and picks up a position, so he's been able to grab one. Morgan Fremantle still at the back of this group, trying to look for a way past in the blue Jacer, Jason V2K, as Pierce loses out to Jason Cutts, who shows the power of the draft down the main straight, which of course we saw in race 1 as well, how that worked for Williams, to be able to get the lead of the race right at the final. So they come down into turn 2 yet again. Of course, close, respectful racing is what we expect from the Formula Vs. It's all about trying to manage where you want to be. Everybody throughout this race will now be scoping each other out, starting to figure out where someone else is faster, where they might be slower, where you can potentially get a run for them. We'll have a look at turns 4, 5 here. Potentially you don't want to be leading into this final complex, as we've seen the draft is strong enough to be able to overtake by the start line here at Sydney Motorsport Park. So sometimes you want to be exactly where Matthew Pearce is now, but in second place, right up behind the car in front of you, to be able to pull out as you come over the start line. But it depends on how well the draft works for you down the straight. As you can see now, Jason Cutts looks to the inside, and he's been able to take the position away. Darren Williams drops back 1 spot. And now looking to the inside, William Pym moves very, very hard in the red car at the back of the group. And Bennett works his way around the outside of Pierce. So as I said, it's all about finding your position, finding out where you've got the run, where the sweet spot may well be for you against your fellow competitor in this period of the race, because that'll tell you everything you need to know towards the end. But you've also got to watch out for sometimes there might be a little bit of foxing going on between the competitors as well, and everybody not wanting to show their true hand throughout the race, as now Bennett looks to the outside. You can see he's pulled out a bit early and not being able to use the draft down into turn 1. Probably found himself on the outside where he didn't really want to be either, and just sits in behind through turn 1. And now we'll look to the inside at 2. We saw Matthew Pearce able to outbrake him a little bit in race 1. In race 2 though, a little bit of dirt on the inside while he tried to give some extra room. And Bennett has to pull back in and just hold onto the position behind Pearce there. So Pearce with a bit of strong defending, but has been able to hold on to the spot, and a big slide through the final complex as well, as these guys work their way steadily away at the front of the field. 8 cars all together. and they're just battling hard, and you can just see in front there the 1200 battle kicking off as well. So they're going to have to watch their way through this one, because the 1200s are in their own race, and they need to make sure that they're picking up their championship points as well. As a long ball, Matthew Pearce sliding through turn 1 and 2. Well, turn 1 towards turn 2, sorry. And he loses the position to Bennett, sits in behind. The leaders have not been able to walk away like they did in the first race here, so they've got a little bit of work to do to try to put their head down and maybe move away if that's what they'd like to do, because we now continue to catch up to those 1200 cars in front that are having their own battle. They'll give them some fair racing room, but need to make sure as well that they're checking the mirrors to see what's going on as we go further back and see the 25 car there of Paul Charlton in the middle of this battle, sitting right in the middle of that little 3-car group who are all fighting for position as well. As they come down through turns 4 and 5s, you can see that you just end up with a group of cars around you that you have to fight with for position, as now Charlton swings around trying to run on Tom Davey. And it looks like they're going to make a move to the inside here. And very, very late under brakes. That's a big move to the inside. And he's been able to make it stick as well. So some great battling there for the rest of them as they've worked their way at the front through the 1200 competitors. I think that was Grant Castle and Don Collier, to be able to get themselves to the front of the group. And you can see how the front 4 have all closed in together yet again. So that's kept them all close together towards the closing stages of this race, with plenty of action still to come. Of course, it'll go under lights here at round 5 of the New South Wales Championships here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Running on the short Druitt circuit has definitely provided action amongst the Formula V's, and they're still nose to tail as we come towards the very closing stages of this second race. 4 cars left at the front of the field. We've got a couple there behind. They're all splitting off into their own battle as well. And you could just see behind that Johnston and Collier in the 1200s also sitting in amongst that pack, as side by side we go through turn 1 yet again. All to play for this race, to try to take the lead away in the closing stages and see if there's something you can do about it. As it looks like now Bennett's going to try to throw his hat into the ring as well. He's looking to try to make moves on those leading 2. As we can see this battle that we saw before continuing on amongst the 3 cars. Tom Davey running lights on the front of his Jacer V2K. It's interesting to see how he's lost the front of it, or the rear of it, sorry, through the final complex. Spins off and he drops a couple of positions there. So Charlton and Bassingwaith go through on him, and that's going to lose him any sort of opportunity for keeping hold of those 2 positions as we head on to the final lap of the race. You can see the leaders touching slightly through turn 1. Now's what we've been waiting for. It's all to play for here. Bennett looking through a gap through the middle. It's going to be a tough one to make that work. As you can see, the 76 of Cuts cutting back to the inside, trying to get the run out of 3. It's not going to quite work for him. Coming down to the final complex, we'll see now Williams was in the position that Cuts was in last race. You can see Bennett throwing it as hard as he can into the final complex to get the run. A little bit of opposite lock in the mid-corner. Pearce sitting in behind Cuts as well as they make the run down the main straight. Looking left and looking right, and it looks like Williams is going to lead them across the line, but a post-race penalty for him will actually see him drop 5 seconds, and Jeff Bennett takes his first victory in Formula V. Further down you can see Stephen Butcher held on for the Stinger in the 1200 class as well. He came home in 11th place in the race. Taking a look at the top 10, Bennett, Cuts, Pearce, Williams and Stott rounding out your top 5. Down in the pits, we caught up with Jeff Bennett to have a chat about racing in Formula V and his first victory.
G'day, my name's Jeff Bennett. I'm driving the number 85 Jacer, the green machine. I had a bit of trouble on Friday practice, but it's coming together for the races. So yeah, getting quicker every race, and picked up a 3rd and just finished 2nd on the track in the 2nd race, but the leader had a 5-second penalty, so I got a win, and that's my first win. There's a few people missing, so I think, yeah, someone just told me that I'm in 2nd place now, so that'll be a good setup for the last round. It's going to be a busy round, it's a national round, so there's going to be a bunch of competitors from other states, so it should be a big field, pretty hectic, a lot of fun.
How long have you been racing Vees?
Oh, I started in 2012. Yeah, late starter. An old hand named Lee Porter. Yeah, I worked with Lee. I got talking to him one day in the work kitchen place, and he went, "Oh, why don't you come out and watch this?" And I was hooked straight away. Bought a car. Got to thank my dad. He's always here, helped me out every weekend. He hasn't missed one race weekend. And the other competitors, we're always breaking things, and we're always fixing each other's cars. And people have helped fix my car plenty of times, and so thanks them.
Congratulations to Jeff Bennett there for winning his first race in Formula V. He starts from the pole position under lights here at Sydney Motorsport Park. You can just see the good field of cars getting away as we run down to turn 1, and Bennett's going to consolidate his lead here, but everybody's going to throw something at him to see if they can be able to get past and pinch a victory away. Williams, of course, with the work to do after that 5-second penalty in race 1. He's going to look to the outside as we swing around. Pierce has made it work, and it looks like the 76 of Jason Cutts has got to the lead on board with Bennett. Oh, a little bit of contact there with Pierce, and that's rotated Bennett's car. Pierce as well through the gravel trap, and then a little bit of a collision there. I think that was the 44 of Morgan Fremantle just making contact with Bennett. So unfortunate contact between a lot of them there, and that may well put a couple out of the race. It's what you sometimes see with open wheeler cars. Of course, Formula V, no exception. We see it a little bit in Formula Ford as well. But sometimes when you're racing in close quarter combat, you just make wheel-to-wheel contact. And it's just one of those unfortunate things. But the race continues here at the front, and Cutts has been able to open up a massive lead at the end of lap 1. Of course, that shenanigans behind him has meant that he has been able to check out. But what he'll need to be aware of is he's on his own, and these cars behind him all have the opportunity of the draft. You can see Williams turning in. You can see coming around there Ryan Stott. A little bit of a lock up to the inside for him, it looked like, as Pierce makes a move to the inside after that spin in lap 1. Bennett also working his way through. You'd have to think that there may well be a little bit of damage to that car, but he's been able to keep it going. So very, very versatile, the Formula Vs. And he has been able to work his way back into this race as Pim now looks to the inside of Stott, takes the position away through turn 1. And now we'll have to focus on the run down to turn 2 and covering his line, which he does, and across the top of the hill through turns 4 and 5, and you can see Pierce closing in on the pair of them. So Pierce has got his head down after rotating through the dirt to be able to get himself back up towards the front of the group. Hopefully there's no further damage with that car and he's able to just continue on. Definitely showing a clean pair of heels at the moment. Looks to the inside of Ryan Stott. Side by side, wheel to wheel into turn 1, and he pulls the position. So now Pim is the next focus for him on this drive back through the field. Really unfortunate when contact like that happens on the opening lap though, as it spreads the field out a little bit more than obviously we've seen in Formula V across races 1 and 2. They still look absolutely fantastic under lights here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Great battling for Pierce to come fighting his way back through. And he looks to the inside and passes Pim as well. So Pim and Stott's battle will continue, but Pierce has taken the position away. Looks like there might be a little bit of an oil line down at the final corner there. Not sure exactly what that is, but there's a big reflection on our camera. As now Pierce, not quite with the straight line speed to be able to break away. Of course, the draft coming into effect, as we've talked about. But if you'd like to get Formula V racing, make sure to check out the New South Wales Formula V Association on Facebook. Website as well, with plenty of information there for being able to get yourself into one of these cars. There's cars available, and the committee will be able to help you out with finding something if that's what you'd like to do, and get involved and enjoy some tight racing. As we see here, Stephen Butcher getting overtaken by Bennett, and then he's going to work his way down the inside of Jess Bathingway as well, and Butcher seizes the opportunity to make up the position. Pierce is going to pass into turn 1 on Pim. So turn 1, a hive of activity late stages of this race. Everybody using the draft to see their opportunity to get past. And now Pim feels the need to defend to the inside on Stott. Pearce hasn't been able to get away from these two. So obviously his pace, while strong enough to catch them after that spin, not quite strong enough to be able to pull away here at Sydney Motorsport Park. We've spoken about it all evening, but the draft from turn 3 all the way to the final complex and then from the final corner down to turn 1 is quite a bit as well. Pim waving there to Pearce as he went past, so not sure if he's saying, hey, let's work together for the draft, which of course the guys will communicate via hand signals a little bit, or he might be trying to notify Pearce that there's something with the car that he's spotted. Wouldn't be surprising with the way the car rotated through the gravel trap. But Pearce takes the position again down into turn 2, and Pim relegated back a spot. So he now sits in behind and has to work his way back through. We've got a car off over the backside of the track as well. I'm not sure exactly who that is, but somebody's parked down at turn 3 as we see this battle group of the 1200s all fighting for position as well. And Pearce looking to the outside now. Well, actually, no, being overtaken by Stott, and Pim's going to try to follow him through. Not quite able to go there. So Pearce sits in behind, and we'll see if Pearce can make his normal move down into turn 2 here as they close in on the 90 of Grant Castle. Grant Castle, second place in the 1200s late in the stages of this race. So he's having a good evening out under lights. Found himself on his own and able to just focus on his racecraft as Pearce was not able to make the move there on Stott. They use Castle for a bit of a draft though down the back straight, and now Pearce will look to the inside and takes the position away through the sweeper into the final complex. Though a huge amount of smoke from the rear of Pearce's car. There's something wrong there you'd have to expect. It looks like that may well be some sort of diff issue perhaps. And oh no, it's caused the 90 of Castle to drop off the track there, I think. Not exactly sure who caught the oil there, but somebody did, and they've speared themselves off. It was we see Don Collier come around the corner. So the guys will have to be aware now. Look at that big shine of oil on the racing line on the corner exit. So they need to just be aware of that as they come around and make sure that they're not going to be able to be touching it, as I think it was Castle who had the spin, but he was far enough ahead of this group that he's been able to rejoin. As we see to the inside there, Greg Johnson in the red and yellow car being rounded up around the outside by Tom Davey. And he works his way through this group as now Collier comes under pressure from Johnston, and working his way through is Paul Charlton, trying to close up on the group in front. And here's our two leaders who have been able to pull away and lap a fair number of the field as well. So Cutts sitting in behind Williams. He looks to the inside. We're coming late in the race here at Sydney Motorsport Park, and there's all sorts of battles going on. So Cutts working on Williams, and there's the 32 of Johnston around the outside of the 3 of Don Collier. Doesn't quite make it work there, so has to sit back in behind Collier. That is a Commando versus an Elfin NG in the 1200 class here for Formula V. And as they come through oh no, Collier's lost the rear. He took a bit too much curb on the inside, it looks like, and rotated the car. Luckily he was able to pull it up before the wall. The wall comes up relatively quickly there, is now onto the final lap, and here we go. Cutts making his move to the inside. Williams pushes him against the wall and then gives enough space at turn 1. They make, not sure if they made a little bit of contact there, but Cutts was spun, regathered the car, and unfortunately somebody else has made their way into the dirt in avoiding action there, trying to make sure that they weren't going to touch Cutts, who was rotating through the middle of turn 1. But that's going to give Williams a very comfortable last lap to be able to bring it home for victory. Cutts tried to throw it down the inside, couldn't quite make it work, and that gives Williams the win as he comes across the line for round 5 at Sydney Motorsport Park for the New South Wales Formula Vee Championship. Jason Cutts in second, William Pin third, fourth goes to Ryan Stott, and fifth to Jeff Bennett. Down in the pits, we caught up with Darren Williams to have a chat about the season so far.
G'day, my name's Darren Williams. I'm the owner of number 79 Sabre 02. I've had this car for a few years now, but this year seems to be a year that it's all fallen into place. We've had a consistent year. This year, I think we've had one DNF, which was the first round at Winton. Apart from that, we've had race wins and podiums. So there's a few people I'd like to thank. There's no way I could do this on my own. So firstly, I'd like to thank Chris Reynolds for helping me at the track, preparation of the car. David Cutts, Jacer Racing Cars for engine development and engines. and my family. I'd like to thank my wife and my family for supporting me, and yeah, it's been a good year. So hopefully we can put it to bed this weekend. We've got a bit of a head start on the points, so hopefully we can continue on with race wins and podiums. There's been some strong competitors throughout the year. Unfortunately, there's two of those strong competitors aren't here this weekend, so it's I'll take advantage of that. But Tyrone Wiseman was a really strong competitor, but unfortunately he's not here. Craig Spark is a multiple state champion also, and he's not here this weekend. So hey, it's my good luck.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed all the action from the New South Wales Formula Vee Championship here on Blendline TV. Of course, make sure to check out the association's website and Facebook page for more information about how you can get racing in one of these cars as well. It'll teach you huge amounts about racecraft and, of course, looking after a vehicle to go racing. Until next time, we hope you've enjoyed the action. Bye for now.
Thank you all for coming. I know there's some people who've already gone home, and it's great to have as big a group as we have under the circumstances, for sure. So, third in the 1200s was Greg Johnson. Well done, Greg. Second in the 1200s was Grant Castle. Well done. Well done, Grant. Come forward again. I'll get in the shot. Great, thanks, Grant. And first was Steve Butcher, who has already left to head north again. So I'll get that trophy to him. I lost my nats off. So. Third in the 1600s was William Pym. Congratulations, William. Brilliant. Second in the 1600s was Jason Cutts, and they're still packing up. So it was good to see Jason back. He hadn't been in the car for about 3 years, so it's great to see him back. First place, Darren Williams. Congratulations, Darren.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Good luck to those who are travelling to Morgan Park. I know there's probably nobody here doing that, but good luck, and pass on those sentiments for me. And that's all right, we had an impromptu photo opportunity there. And we're back here in October, and looking forward to seeing two-day event, back to the normal Gardner circuit. So thank you, everyone, and travel home safely. Thank you.